Hi everyone, welcome along to Through the Banner. Skeet and COD taking you through a huge week of footy, so many issues. Let's get to the one that's affecting a star of WA football. First up, Nat Fyfe, 200 games against Hawthorn on Saturday, Launceston. What an achievement.
He's an amazing player, he's an amazing football, amazing bloke as well. He's won a couple of Brownlow medals, he's won three All-Australians, 3 Doig medals, one of the champions of the game, and probably the best player, along with Matthew Pavlich, in the club's history. That
being said, we're talking rare air here, but where do we place him alongside other dual Brownlow medalists? We think of Chris Judd, Gary Ablett Jr. He's in the conversation, but where does he sit?
I think Ablett's all the way up the top, and no one really rivals him. And then you look at Judd and Fyfe. They're very similar in the second half of Judd's career, but the first half of Judd's career with the goal kicking is what sets him apart. 5 times as an Eagle, he scored 20 goals or more throughout his career. Fyfe's only done that once. I mean, you look at the current group of Dusty and Dangerfield and these sorts of guys, they're all goal scorers as well. And we know Fyfe's had issues with his goal scoring this year. If he can become a goal scorer more in the second half of his career, that'll elevate him even higher to where he is at the moment.
Had issues with his goal kicking, also with his shoulder, but he will play against the Hawks at Launceston on Saturday. Here's what Nat Fyfe thinks about reaching that magnificent milestone.
For me, 200 games, it's a great chance for me to acknowledge all the people that have been a part of getting me this far. I never thought I'd be able to last this long with my body and mind, but really grateful for that and looking forward to playing a few more games still to come.
So there it is, Nat Fyfe on the verge of 200 games, quite coincidentally playing against Hawthorn. They've had some upheaval over the past few days. Alistair Clarkson on the way out, Sam Mitchell on the way in, caught a few off by guard.
Yeah, we all thought that there was going to be something going on eventually between Sam Mitchell and Alistair Clarkson with a succession plan, but we didn't think it'd be happening this year, and we didn't think it'd be all organised and potentially even happening next year. We just don't know what's going to happen now. Will Alistair Clarkson hang around for the final year of his contract? Will Carlton or Collingwood come for him? We just don't know. So as much as they've put a succession plan in place, the question now is, will the succession plan actually take place as they've announced it?
Turmoil at Hawthorn to some degree, although they're saying a succession plan. Definite turmoil at the West Coast Eagles. Before we get into the teams for this weekend, 92-point loss to the Sydney Swans, thumped by the Bulldogs the week before. This club, after those two results, really have been put under the blowtorch.
Yeah, it's been an amazing week for West Coast when you consider 97 points against Geelong, 55 points against the Bulldogs, now 92. They've had a lot of talking going on behind closed doors. Adam Simpson today said, no more talk, it's all about action. Judge us on how we perform on Monday night on the big stage. So let's see how they go. It's up against North Melbourne. It's expecting to beat North Melbourne. If they don't, then you can imagine what will happen. But it's all about how their attitude is, or how their work rate is, how their effort is. And we want to see those sorts of things rather than just run around and beat North Melbourne because they're on the bottom of the ladder.
They're in a no-win situation. They beat North. They're expected to because they're bottom. If they get rolled, well, they'll be held to pay. The finals become almost a distant proposition given the way they're playing at the moment. But Monday Night Football coming to Perth. Let's get into the teams, starting with the Fremantle Dockers. They play on Saturday morning, our time, 11:45. You'll see that game on 7. And Fremantle, changes? How many?
They've just made the one at the moment. Bailey Banfield comes in. Brett Bewley is out. So Banfield obviously hasn't had a lot of opportunities for Fremantle in recent times. Bewley had an injury-interrupted start to the year. Played really well over in Melbourne recently, but is injured. And Mitch Croden goes out as the medi-sub. When you look at Hawthorn, Denver Granger Barras comes back in after concussion, which is fantastic for him. Tyler Brockman and Emerson Jekka, the other ones who are coming into that team. And you look at the outs, Tim O'Brien, great mark a couple of weeks ago, potentially the mark of the year, Gonski. And Jai Newcomb, who had a great debut, is also among those outs. So more outs for Hawthorn than there are for Fremantle.
Yes, but they love playing in Launceston, the Hawks, and we know what's happened this week. Tough game for the Dockers. If they win that, they certainly stay in the conversation for the top 8. The West Coast Eagles, 2 big names coming back into the mix, and boy, don't they need them.
Andrew Gaff comes back from a thumb injury. Liam Ryan comes back from suspension. So they're massive ins straight away. There were some issues at training today with Oscar Allen hurting his shoulder. Whether or not he'll be right by Monday, we'll have to wait and see. Brad Shepherd was also in the wars with his forearm. So there's some issues going on left, right and centre with them. And they've lost Jack Redden, Alex Witherden and Jermaine Jones also. So there's injuries galore. They've got an extended squad, so we won't know who is actually playing until they've reduced that for later on in the week. But they've got players like Jackson Nelson and Josh Rotham who have also come into that squad. But that is an extended squad which will be trimmed later on in the week.
Of course, North Melbourne arrive here Sunday with a side that has been very competitive of late. Anything to note from their side that's just been put through?
Jared Pollock is one of 4 ins. He's probably the most significant name from that. Similar to West Coast, though, they've got a lot of names who are potentially able to come in, but until we see the reduced squad, that's when we'll really know what sort of North Melbourne team it will be.
Okay, it's a round which extends over quite a few days. One of the big stories happens at the Western Bulldogs. The number 1 draft pick, he's finally been named after a lot of pressure on Luke Beveridge.
It's amazing. Jamari Eagle-Hagan, he's had to wait. It's not usual for a number 1 draft pick to be in the top team. They don't usually come into a team which is battling and they just play. Whereas he's had to really earn his spot, and it's great to see him out there. It'll be interesting to see how he goes. We know he's athletic, we know he's exciting. Everyone will be looking forward to watching him.
Okay, any other news around the league briefly with regards to ins and outs?
So Lachie Neale comes back for the Brisbane Lions, Zach Williams comes back from suspension for Carlton, and Jesse Hogan is back for GWS. And in terms of some of the bigger names who are going out, Tex Walker with the neck injury from last week, Dyson Heppel out at Essendon, and then you've got 2 big outs from Geelong in Jeremy Cameron and Joel Selwood, while Aaron Norton is another big one who's going out for the Western Bulldogs. So a lot of changes this week for all the teams.
And in brief, our WA teams, winning or losing?
I think both teams win this week. They're playing the bottom 2 teams. Even though Fremantle have never won in Launceston against Hawthorn, I reckon the week Hawthorn have had, it's a bit of a turmoil off the field, and that never bodes well for any team.
Have to trust COD because he is officially on top of the West footy tipping, and hasn't he just been thumping his chest all week saying how good am I? But he's top of the table, but early rotten as we hope, those of us just down the pecking order a fraction. By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe to The West Australian on YouTube, and for all the latest news and sport, head to thewest.com.au. This has been Through the Banner. COD and Skeet, we'll see you next week.